Before Scientology fabricator L Ron Hubbard got into organized crime, and before he got into ceremonial black sex magic, and before he got into the alternative medicine fraud business, he was a junior officer in the United States Navy. How he got his commission, considering he was a royal fuck-up and who flunked out of George Washington University, was brilliant. He wrote his own letters of introduction from prestigious military and community leaders who had never met him. He then applied for the commission with those fake, fraudulent, forged letters. Some of the letters Hubbard wrote praising himself were absurd and ridiculous, such as the forged letter from Senator Warren G. Magnuson to President Franklin Roosevelt. Therein, Hubbard claimed he was more experienced than every other man in the United States with various types of ocean-going vessels. And he called himself, quote, politically potent nationally, unquote. Hubbard's part in the war effort started in September of the year 1941. He was sent to Australia, where his command superior there discovered Hubbard was of no use at all. And he said so in Hubbard's official personnel report file. He sent Hubbard back to the United States with a note stating that Hubbard was, quote, not satisfactory for independent duty assignment. He is querulous and tries to give impressions of his importance. He also seems to think that he has unusual ability in most lines, unquote. In April of 1942, Hubbard was in New York City censoring private mail from Navy servicemen and servicewomen. That's right, he operated a big fat black felt pen crossing out words until the end of June of 1942, where he was sent to Newport, Massachusetts to oversee the outfitting of the fishing trawler Mist. That trawler was to be converted into a yacht patrol vessel. The designation would be YP-422. That vessel was used to patrol the United States Atlantic shore. Naval designation called it a boat and not a ship, and yet Hubbard and his slaves continued to call it a ship of war. Hubbard was relieved of duty in shame and humiliation after he and his crew harassed and antagonized the shipyard doing that conversion to such an extent that he and his crew were barred from entering the shipyard. The commander of the Boston Naval Shipyard wrote of Hubbard, quote, in the opinion of the commandant, he is not temperamentally fitted for independent command, unquote. In November of 1942, he was sent to a school for submarine persecution in Long Island, New York. In January of 1943, he helped supervise the outfitting of USS PC-815, with the prospect of him being given command of that vessel. On the 21st of April, 1942, he was given that command, much to the later shame and embarrassment of the United States Navy. Hubbard was relieved of duty after commanding that vessel for 3 months. More on that later. In December of 1942, Hubbard was given command of the war vessel USS Algol as the training officer for young commissioned officers. This also resulted in great embarrassment for the United States Navy, and it caused an international incident and an act of war that forced the Navy to once again relieve Hubbard of duty. Hubbard was honorably discharged on December 5th of the year 1945. At no time was L. Ron Hubbard ever in a combat zone. He never saw the enemy, let alone face the enemy, nor did he ever fire so much as a single shot at any Japanese or German. Hubbard had earned and received 4 medals for his part in the war effort. The American Defense Service Medal, the American Campaign Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal, which is common among his peers and all servicemen and servicewomen who served in the war. He also earned and was awarded a Marksmanship Award for small arms. When Hubbard was given command of the patrol craft PC-815, he was ordered to steam southward along the United States Pacific coast to San Diego from Portland, Oregon. On May 19, 1943, the boat passed over a well-charted and much-known magnetic anomaly on the seafloor. Hubbard promptly identified the magnetic anomaly as an enemy Japanese submarine. and he ordered his subchaser to attack that magnetic anomaly. 10 miles offshore at Cape Lookout, Oregon, Hubbard and crew fought a desperate pitched battle against that iron deposit. In Hubbard's own words, in the official report he filed with the Navy about that terrible pitched battle, quote, "The ship, sleepy and skeptical, had come to their guns swiftly and without error," unquote, around 4 o'clock in the morning. Hubbard radioed for support, and eventually 2 U.S. Navy blimps, K-39 and K-33, and another submarine chaser, USS SC-536, came to help fight the ancient iron deposit. The only vessel that could detect the enemy submarine, oddly enough, was Hubbard's. In the afternoon, Hubbard announced that there were 2 enemy Japanese submarines in the area. He demanded more depth charges, having run out. And a Coast Guard vessel transferred their munitions to Hubbard's boat. Hubbard's deck gun also managed to shoot off his own radio antenna mast, nearly killing a crew member. Eventually, there were 5 war vessels and 2 war blimps hunting Hubbard's phantom enemy submarines. Amazingly, Hubbard appears to have been the only one on the ocean at that time to actually see evidence of the submarines. He later claimed to have sunk or disabled both enemy submarines, and in an official report, he humbly begged his command superiors to not give him any award or medal for that amazing achievement. After the war, Japanese records accounted for every single submarine. None had been on the coast of Oregon at that time, and none were sunk or disabled off the coast. 3 months earlier, one Japanese submarine attacked an oil refinery off Santa Barbara, California, which is no doubt where Hubbard got the idea of finding his own Jap submarines to persecute. The official Navy report concluded Hubbard attacked the magnetic deposit known to be at that spot off the coast. Hubbard's floating command continued down to San Diego, and once there, he promptly attacked Mexico on 26th of June, 1943, by anchoring off Mexican territory and lobbing 50 caliber gunnery shells into the Mexican shore of the Coronado Islands. Hubbard and his crew faced court-martial. Hubbard was therefore relieved of duty. Rear Admiral Braisted wrote of Hubbard, quote, "Consider this officer lacking in the essential qualities of judgment, leadership, and cooperation. He acts without forethought as to probable results," unquote. After the war, Hubbard claimed he fought in the Atlantic against the Germans, fought in the Pacific against the Japanese, and he was wounded in many battles. He claimed to have been awarded the Purple Heart twice, and a Bronze Star for valor in battle. He claimed he was wounded and blinded after seeing an enemy shell land on his ship, at which time he ran over to it, picked it up, and threw it over the side just as it exploded. Hubbard even used to walk around with a walking cane, affecting a limp, and bravely complaining about how his war injuries still bothered him, since not all of the enemy shrapnel had been removed. In reality, Hubbard never saw combat of any kind, unless one counts attacking a lump of iron ore and shooting at goats in Mexico. And yet, the sinister International Crime Syndicate of Scientology still has on their website the claims that Hubbard did see battle, was wounded, and cured himself with Dianetics. It is all a fucking lie. Hubbard never saw combat ever in his entire fucking life.